I'm up very early. Well, very early. For us, not too bad. 5:30 we got underway. I know that these guys have got fishing nets out during the night, and I hope they've got them all back in during the early morning. It's hard to tell. And they use little plastic bottles as floats. The problem is here in Indonesia, I don't know if you can make that out, there's plastic bottles floating in the water everywhere because there's so much rubbish. You don't know which ones are nets and which ones are rubbish, essentially. So it's a bit of a hit and miss game. Just hoping that they've got their nets in and that we're good to go. Anyway, the town of Kalabahi is just starting to wake up, I guess. The plan this morning is we're going to head out of the inlet here and head sort of southwest and then pick up the tide, hopefully heading north according to local information, although I wouldn't say it's reliable. But anyway, hopefully ride the tide north, come up around the top here and head down into Abang Buka and anchor down in here for the night. We don't need anything from the village, so we're just looking for a nice anchorage for the night, hopefully. And then, yeah, continue on the following day. So it's not a big, long trip today. It's only about 35 miles. I just hope we can get some wind to do a little sailing because it doesn't look like there's going to be much, if any. Anyway, you know what? I'm a bit of a whiner. You can't get everything. It is what it is. Anyway, we're going to head down the inlet here. Just a glassy motor this morning. It's flat calm out there. Just flat calm. Tell you what, there's absolutely no chance of an Indonesian vessel sneaking up on you unless they're, you know, tiny little canoe paddle one. These things make such a racket. You can hear them coming from, well, literally miles away. I imagine they're an air-cooled diesel, not a water-cooled diesel. Since we left Salmlaki nearly 2 weeks ago, we haven't had really much internet. We've had patchy internet from time to time. It's been okay, but it's been pretty far apart, pretty slow and pretty unreliable. And being here at Kalabahi has given us fantastic internet while we've been here. We ran out of data last night, and our mate Ardi was able to help us out with recharging the phone and getting some more data up, which meant that I could get 2 more episodes up online for YouTube for your viewing pleasure. The internet's been, yeah, pretty poor. You know, that's nobody's fault. That's where we are. But as we're heading west now, I think we're getting into more populated areas. I think we're going to see more and more internet over the next coming weeks as we pass through Indonesia up to Malaysia. Here's hoping anyway, because we both love our internet. Everybody loves their internet. I know we do. You know, goat videos, cat videos. Tan loves cat videos. Funny cats. Anyway. But that means we can get our YouTube episodes up to you, which is the most important thing, I guess. For us, you know, having 1 million subscribers or having 10 subscribers really doesn't matter too much. The whole purpose of this was to create, you know, a family album that we would have online, that we could look at any time to review this journey, you know, this voyage. So just being able to have all those stored in the cloud somewhere nice and safe for the rest of our lives, and probably for our grandkids and great-grandkids as well. Yeah, that's pretty amazing. So we're making them not to make money. So we're not making any money, believe me. We're not making any money out of it. And it's a lot of effort, actually. But the effort is being able to go back and look at them again. So yeah, so having our own private video photo album that's not private, that we're sharing. Yeah, pretty much. This is a ramble, probably never make it into an episode. Many different varieties of fishing contraptions. This is one of them. We haven't seen these ones before. This is Kalabahi, and to be honest, I've got no idea how that works. It's two outriggers with a bamboo frame between the middle, and then a bamboo frame for maybe a roof or holding up a net, or I don't know really. You wouldn't want to collide with that in the middle of the night. Wouldn't do your fiberglass boat any good. You got a big steeler, you'd be alright, probably. You're tangled up, but you probably wouldn't sink. Passing through the slick tidal flow at the entrance to the inlet up to Kalabahi. It's flowing really fast through here in all different directions, going all over the place, because we're passing from very deep water, or reasonably shallow, into very deep, back into reasonably shallow, and back into very deep. And yeah, lots of whirlpools and action going on. Look at that, boat swinging around all over the place. Whee! Woo! This is exciting. Wow, so that big whirlpool caught the boat and heeled us over about 10 degrees. That was, I've never had that before. That's new. That's how strong these currents really are. Wouldn't want to do this in wind against tide. Man, oh man. You'd know about that. Just west of Kalabahi on the approach to Pura. Decided to turn and head south and go with the tide because we were making zero ground. Tide's running at about 7 knots, near as I can tell, 6 to 7 knots. So I really didn't time that very well. Tried to look at the Navionics chart, and it showed slack water right now, but clearly that ain't the case. Anyway, I'm trying to go around this little patch here, but the tide's running so hard, I think it's going to take us right through it. I don't think we're going to get a lot of choices here, but it's not dangerous, it's just a little bit uncomfortable. We've got all the hatches closed, and yeah, we're good to weather it. At least once we're through here, we should get a run with the tide for a few miles. It'll help us on our way. Check it out, eh? That out. The tide here is just insane. We tried to come through at slack water. So we are making progress now. I think we're about to get out of the worst of it, and it's going to get better soon. Big tides, overfalls, whirlpools, wind against tide, chop, everything, you name it. It's just tides going in all directions here. We're tucked in close to Pura, trying to get out of it, but it's absolutely hammering through here. One minute it's with you, next minute it's against us. It's just all over the place. Yeah, badly timed this one. You can see here, we're just being thrown all over the place. One minute we're doing 4 knots, next minute we're doing half a knot. And you can see us just swinging left and right, starboard, port. Yeah, we are all over the place. But we're leaving it now, I think. The worst of it is behind us. So I think it's going to get better now. So we're making way through the water here, probably in that 5.5 to 6 knot range. And check out the GPS. So we're going backwards at half a knot. The tide is absolutely ripping through here. We're supposed to be here now at slack water half an hour ago, but those Navionics tide charts are definitely out by miles. The question is, do we persevere or do we turn and run with it? It's a difficult call, because if the tide does turn in the next half an hour, we'll have it with us and it'll be a big help. If it doesn't turn and it's completely wrong, then we're going to fight this for hours and hours and hours, basically. One of those skipper's dilemmas, I guess. We'll continue on for probably half an hour, see how it goes. If it starts to ease off, then I know it's going to change, but if it doesn't start to ease off, we'll probably give up and figure out plan B, which I don't know. We're finally winning this battle. We've moved probably 1/4 of a mile in the last hour and a half, just pushing against that tide. I've been waiting for the tide to change, and I'd given it half an hour, and if we didn't see a reduction in the current, then I was going to turn and run with it, because clearly the tides are completely wrong on the avionics. But it is easing now. We're making 1.1 knots going forward, and I can see behind me that the sea state has settled in the wind against tide area that we went through before, where it was really rough. So the tide is definitely easing. So it looks like it's about an hour later than the navionics shows. So yeah, looks like everything will start to turn in our favour soon, which would be good, because I've used the motor 3 hours already this morning. I don't like that, I hate it. And I've had to have the revs up a little bit just to maintain our position and not lose any ground. But anyway, I've backed the revs off. We're making a knot going forward now, finally, and seas have calmed down a bit. So there we can see we really haven't moved, but now we're starting to win the fight. Things will just start to turn in our favour now. It's 10:30 in the morning, and the tide is finally easing off for us. Looks like that tide station is out by at least 3 hours, maybe more. Anyway, I've got some sail up. We're doing some motor sailing, very, very fine, but it is helping us. We are making 3 knots in the direction we want to go now, which is good. Probably making more like 6 through the water, so that tide is still running pretty hard. Anyway, I said to Tan, I'm hungry. Oh, I feel like eating chicken. And then no sooner have I said that than she's downstairs, 10:30 in the morning, making food. Yum, yum, yum. Check this out. What do you make, darling? Tom Kha Gai. So we're having chicken coconut soup. It's like a sour chicken coconut soup. It's a Thai dish. Tom Kha, yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4. Really?
Yeah, it's okay.
Because you eat mukbang, no?
I know, but it's enough.
I don't know.
It's short enough. So yeah, so she's going to make Tom Kha Gai. Tom means soup. Kha means like coconut, and Gai means chicken. Tom Kha Gai. Can't show you all the secret herbs and spices. We've turned the corner out of that strait, so the tide's no longer hitting us. And we've got a tiny bit of wind, probably about 8 knots. It's very fine on the starboard bow, but we're beating to windward at about 3.5 to 3.8 knots, something like that. That'll do me. Happy to turn the engine off. Already we've been running for 6 hours this morning to, well, because I called the tide wrong, but the information was wrong too. So anyway, but yeah, so we're just sailing along the top end of, let me get a name for you, no doubt you'll be straight onto Google Earth, La Lagasan. Here we go, Palau Palau Alor. So I thought the other one was Alor. They are. So both islands are called Palau Palau Alor. So we're now on Palau Palau Alor West, heading up the west coast of that. I'll give you a look where we are. Here we are, just heading up around the top there, making 3.7 knots. Makes me very happy to be sailing. And over there is one of those Indonesian tourist Turkish boats. I don't know how to describe them. But if you come up here into this part of the world, Komodo, and all the way through Flores and all the way to here to Alor, where tourists do get, although this is pretty rare up in the Alor, these boats do expedition sailing well, expedition motoring and diving. I don't think they'd sail very well. I think they call it gullet, a Turkish gullet or something like that. Anyway, we'll see them a bit closer as we get closer. So now the Naomi cruise looks like they're underway and actually heading towards us. It's chaotic here, you know. Don't seem to be, there's no rules of the road here, and no one seems to be concerned about the potential for a collision. They just go. Anyway,
This might be.
we're going to pass in front of him, so not a big problem. Pretty looking boat on the outside. Doesn't mind a close encounter with a sailing yacht. The Naomi Cruise, it's called. N-E-O-M-E Cruise. The Naomi Cruise. Give you an idea of scale. We're just ghosting along in the clearest water we've seen for a long time. Don't know if you can see down there. Look, all those are fingers of God. They just keep going down and down and down. We're in probably close to 1,000 metres of water here, so it's very, very clear. But we're also very close to the beach, right there. It's not very far. Our destination is down amongst that mountain way off in the distance there. You can see it comes down to a valley to its left hand side. So our destination is down in there. It's about 15 miles from here, so it's not very far. But at 2 knots, it's a bloody long way. In the meantime, Tan's checking out her phone. I'm checking out the nav. And we're just puffing along. But it's better than using the engine. And as long as we can get there in daylight, we'll maintain this. I guess once we get to a point where we're not going to arrive in daylight anymore, then I'll start the engines and we'll head down there. But there's a chance that we might make it. We've used the engine for 6 hours already today, and most of it was wasted just fighting that bloody tide. But if we can finish the rest up under sail, I'll be very happy. Safe. He's got a kite in the back of the boat, so he must be using that to fish. Kite fishing. From all the way out there. That's deep water. That sea breeze filled in nicely. We ended up with a northerly breeze at about 10 knots, which is allowing us to do a broad reach into our bay, which is called our anchorage, which is called Blang Merang, on the eastern island of Alor. And as we've headed down here, we've sailed into another field of fish attracting devices. They're basically just huge floating containers, well, not even huge, but floating containers anchored in hundreds of metres of water, well offshore, for no apparent reason apart from, I guess, people use it to fish. They're not marked on charts, there's no AIS coming up on them. Some of them do appear to have lights, most of them don't. And they're quite thick. If you weren't paying attention, even during the day, you could easily collide with one of these, and it'd be quite a mess if you had that wrapped around your keel, I reckon. Yeah, I'll show you one as we come past. We're about to come past a close one on our port side. I'll show you that when we get there. Not too far away, probably 40-50 metres away. It's just basically a floating water container, I guess. Possibly has a light on the top of it. But again, if you weren't paying attention and you collided with that, got that wrapped around your keel, it'd be a nightmare to get off, let alone the damage it'd do if it took your rudder out. And we've sailed past probably, maybe 10 close to the boat, this close to the boat in the last 5 miles, so the last hour, and probably another 20 that were further out, much further out. Anyway, I'll zoom in a little bit on the editing so you can get a better look at what they look like. But these things are just fish attracting devices. They come out here and they sit on the mooring and they basically just hang a line off here and hope that something comes up. Got to pay attention. These things truly are a menace. This one's quite low in the water, very difficult to see. Luckily though, that one's got lights on it, so at least you'd see it at night. Making our entrance into Blang Merang, and it's quite a narrow entrance, clearly marked though. I can see a starboard hand mark, a port hand mark, and a special mark further down. Matches up with the charts, that's good. So we've got Tana on watch up the front just in case I screw up. She should see the coral before I do. Anyway, this will be the port of Blang Merang.
Bang Merang, bang 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 Merang, same thing, song, alai.
Bam balam. Oh, Black Betty, bam balam. Go, Black Betty, bam balam. Yeah, a little bit like that. So quite a tight little entrance there, but well marked. And looks to be well charted, so shouldn't present any real problems. We'll just go gently. I'm going to slow down very shortly. We'll go in at about 4 knots, something like that, 4.5 maybe. We'll just go gently, and the plan is to come down inside around to here and anchor somewhere here. That should give us really good shelter, I reckon. Let's go give it a shot. I'm not nervous at all. Actually, this is a pretty easy one. Yeah, inside you can see it's clearly marked, port and starboard hand marks, and I guess we'll call that a special mark, I'm not really sure, but it marks the edge of that reef at the north end of that island. And we're going to head down into this channel here, head off to starboard and anchor just behind this promontory here, this little point, and hopefully find about 15 metres of water, but I'm happy with 20. We could also anchor up in there. It's quite calm up in there, and that's closer to the town. But it's also considerably deeper, so we'll look for something that's, you know, that 15 to 20 metre mark if I can get it. So that's where we're going to be. We're only here tonight, we're out of here tomorrow, so no point in fussing around too much about our anchorage, whether it's perfect or not, as long as it's suitable. Anyway, we'll go on in. So ask me how good it is to be anchoring in less than 15 metres of water. In fact, we anchored in 13 metres of water. Like, that feels pretty damn good. We're in a very calm little spot here. I'll show you on the chart plotter in a sec. I'm just going to get our chain out, let the boat settle, and then I'll show you and we'll have a look. About 45 metres out so far in 15 metres of water. So that's 50 metres, so I'll let the head grab now and I'll let her bring herself up, and then we'll have a look at it. So there we are on the chart plotter, anchored just outside Blang Merang, but it looks like we're off a little village called Kura, but we'll call it Blang Merang because I'll get confused otherwise. Head's just coming up now, just swinging around into the wind. There might be a little bit of tide here tonight because of the narrow channels. And a lot of mangroves around, so maybe some mosquitoes and maybe even some crocodiles. Certainly we weren't going to be swimming here, but we'll stay the night. I don't plan to go ashore, and we'll head off again in the morning. Should be a calm night here, really looking forward to it. So yeah, getting a flat anchorage is kind of my #1 mission most days. If I get a safe anchorage where I don't have to worry about the boat dragging, if I get an anchorage where it's flat and I don't roll, that's like gold. So that's what I aim for most days. Don't always achieve it, but I definitely got it today. We're going to have a really good sleep here tonight. It's going to be beautiful. And then hopefully we get a nice little sail tomorrow to take us out of here. I think we've got a few miles to cover, maybe 55 miles to do tomorrow. Not exactly sure of our destination where it'll be. We'll just see how we go. I've got a couple of ideas in mind. I'll surprise you tomorrow when I've got a clue, because I'm not really 100% sure. I do have a couple of ideas. We're now on a guidebook, so we've got, you know, that at least giving us a couple of anchorages, and there's another one that I'm pretty confident will be pretty good tomorrow, which might be suitable for us as well. That would probably be a better one. I have no clue, but tune into the next episode because it hasn't happened yet. For me, I've got to wait and see. You can just skip forward and play the next episode. I think that's how it works. Got to think this through. It's kind of like thinking through a time machine, time paradox. I think I'm losing my mind.